I'm now in the middle of the Women in Translation Readathon.
So because the readathon started on the weekend, I didn't start reading until Monday morning, day 3. My first book is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, and I read it on the train and dropped it off at the library, so I no longer have it. But it's about a 36-year-old woman. She's Japanese, she's living in Tokyo, and she's been working at the convenience store since she was 18. She's devoted her life to being the perfect employee, and she just lives in fear of not being needed and being replaced by society. But I think this book is more of a parody of the pressure that we put on ourselves to conform to what we consider to be society's norms. And I thought it was interesting, but I didn't love it. So I'm ready to move on to the next book. But challenge completed, book with red on the cover. So it's 8:30 and I'm gonna start with this one, The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barberry. This is day 3 of the Women in Translation Readathon. So far I finished 1 book and this is book 2. Well, I'm also reading book 3, which I started before the readathon began. So officially this is my 2nd book of the readathon and starting it now. I'd like to finish this tonight. Let's see if I could do it. 300 and something pages. That's about 3 hours of reading. It's 8:30 now. That means by midnight I should be done. Can I do it? Let's see. I'm at page 38 in this novel, and it's eerie the similarity between this one and A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. In both of these novels, we have a girl who's contemplating suicide, and she's reading Marcel Proust's Remembrance of Things Past and writing down in a diary her complex thoughts before she gets to the date where she's planning to execute the suicide. And then we have an older woman who's probably going to be privy to her thoughts. I'm at page 106 in The Elegance of the Hedgehog, and right now it's still a lot of existential questioning. We're still not at the point where we've gotten to in the outline, which is why I usually don't read book blurbs, book outlines, because 100 pages in and a lot of this still hasn't been revealed. But for now, I need a snack. Butterfinger. It is Tuesday morning, which means it is day 4 of the Women in Translation Readathon. My goal was to finish this book last night, but I only got about a third of the way in, which means I'm going to continue reading this today. I'm also still continuing my buddy read of Herta Muller's The Fox Was Ever the Hunter. I'm doing this with Sean the Book Maniac, and I'm also about a third into this one, but I'm reading this slowly. I'm interspersing these short chapters in between reading this. I also read this weird book last night, Elena Ferrante's The Beach at Night, which from its size and short number of pages and illustrated pages at that, it seems like it's supposed to be a children's book, like a take on the haunting fairy tale that really said some terrible things but lulled you in by the innocence of the young characters. And so this one is only 40 something pages, and I'm not sure that I even want to add it onto my Goodreads, except at some point I'm probably going to want to read everything that Elena Ferrante has written. And so if I don't log it now, then it wouldn't be a complete record of my reading her work. So I'll add it, but it's a little reluctant. I just wanted to stop and let you know that I am loving this book. Thank you so much for the recommendation, Lillian. Both of the female characters are intense art and literature connoisseurs, and when they speak in their separate lives, in their journals, when they talk about literature and they talk about art, it is so beautiful. I love this book. I love this book. I'm about halfway in, and I want to read it slowly because I'm dreading when this book is going to be over. So right now I'm in Union Square. I'm waiting for the Strand bookstore to open, and if I have time I'll also pop into the Barnes & Noble because I love days that start with bookish exploration. I bought a few books and I'd love to share them with you, but you'll have to wait until I get home. to make the classic New Yorker decision. When you see a celebrity on the streets, do you go up to them, ask them for a picture, or do you just let them alone? Especially when they're doing something you can kind of tell that they want to be left alone. Well, this one is a little bit in the middle. So I saw Tamron Hall, who is someone that I watch on NBC, or used to watch on NBC before she decided not to renew her contract. And I saw her out in my block for a photo shoot. And I talked to her, but I didn't get it on camera. So if a New Yorker meets a celebrity on the street, if it's not recorded on camera, did it happen? You decide. So now I'm back from the Strand bookstore. Thanks for your patience. I'll tell you what I got. I bought Dandelions by Yasunara Kawabata. Love this cover. So that was my first buy. And then I got this, which is a magnet, which says Lost in the Stacks. And I'm including that in a book box that I'm doing for my Runwright Reads book box. If you haven't already checked it out, then definitely go to my Etsy page. I'll link that in the description box. And then this is a book that I wanted to buy. It is written by Jansson, Tove, and it is a collection of stories that, I guess, linked short stories that make up a novel. And it is a summer book, and it's translated from the Swedish. So this is going to be my new to me language for the Women in Translation Readathon, and I think I might read this today. And so that's it. 2 books and a magnet from the Strand. 18 miles of books, New York City. Book haul win. I woke up to this email. Congratulations, you are one of our giveaways lucky winners. You will soon receive a free copy of Flights. Flights is the 2018 Man Booker International Prize winner. And I've been wanting to read this book for a while. I was planning to buy a copy, and now look, I received a copy for free from the giveaway on Goodreads. Don't say these things don't work. I just won. I'm at page 249, and the middle-aged French concierge and autodidact is now waxing poetic about the philosophy of William of Ockham. Is there anything more delightful to find in the middle of a book that has already checked all of my boxes? I am loving this book. And I'm finished. This was a beautiful read. It's close to midnight on Wednesday evening. I just finished the Elegance of the Hedgehog for the Women in Translation Readathon, and now I'm all kinds of emotional, so I need a little bit of a palate cleanser. I'm going to read this one. This is the James Patterson middle grade series, and I'm going to give it to a kid, and I usually read books before I give them to children, so I'm going to read this. It shouldn't take me more than an hour, hour and a half, so I should be in bed by 1:30. With this book also read. It's the Women in Translation Readathon, but I think if I read something that's a little outside of my comfort zone, it's gonna be okay. It took a little longer than I expected, but I finished. Funny, it's done, and it's 1:43 a.m. So it took me an hour and 43 minutes to read about 300 pages of a middle grade book. If only I could keep this pace with literary fiction, then I could read so much more. But for now, it's bedtime. Talk to you tomorrow. 2 more days left in the Women in Translation Readathon, which means I have to go back to my reading plan in the morning, or whatever time tomorrow I read. See you then. Good night. It's Thursday morning. I just woke up and made my bed, but I could be convinced to go back to sleep. But I'm going to get to some reading. Today, we have 2 days left in the Women in Translation Readathon. I'm still reading this book because I'm doing a buddy read. And I'm still reading this book because I'm doing a buddy read. So I'm going to start with this book because this I could read at my own pace. And I think I could finish it today and then leave the others for whenever my buddy read partners have caught up. It's Thursday afternoon, so I'm going to head to the park and do a little reading. I want to finish the summer book in the park. And just like that, the end. I'm done. There's a lot that I enjoyed about this one. I enjoyed reading it in the park, but I also enjoyed reading this really incredible relationship between grandmother and granddaughter. and I'm giving this a rating somewhere between 3 and 4 stars. That's not a sparrow. What kind of bird are you? Hey, Mr. Bird. Oh yeah. Good morning. It's the last day of the Women in Translation Readathon, which means I want to finish this book today. I'm about 2/3 of the way in, so I think I could do it. I'm also reading this book, and I'm about halfway. I'm at page 100, and it goes to page 190, so I'm about halfway. I want to finish this today. I want to finish this today, and I want to read a whole new book today as well. Oh, I also haven't read anything that was translated posthumously. A lot of reading needs to get done today. Is today the last day of the readathon? Yep, today's August 31st. So I'll be reading a lot today. Maybe I won't talk. I'll just read. We'll see. And I'm finished. 4 stars for the most enjoyable and challenging book I think I've read simultaneously. Usually a book is either challenging or enjoyable. This one was definitely both at all points during the novel, but it did get better towards the end. It got a lot easier to follow once I had resolved what the images meant, and I enjoyed it. So 4 stars for Herta Müller. I'm finished with this one. I'm just waiting on my buddy read partner to be finished so I can mark it read on Goodreads. In true Ferrante style, this is about an unlikable character that inspires you to feel emotion, even if that emotion is extreme anger and hate. But I absolutely enjoy her writing because she delves so deeply into characterization that I just can't help but admire her ability to do so. And so I'm a little conflicted with how to rate this because I didn't like the character and didn't approve of her choices, the way she allowed herself to be so broken by being abandoned by her husband. But I'm giving this 4 stars. And that's it. The Women in Translation Readathon is over. I read 6 books during the week, but I didn't meet all the challenges. The first challenge was to read something that was not a novel. I didn't really read anything that wasn't novelesque. Second prompt was to read a book about childhood, and I did read Elena Ferrante's short story / children's book type novel that seemed like it was for children but really wasn't. And I also read The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barberry, which had a 12-year-old character, and while she was a precocious savant, she still was a child. So I'm saying that those were both childhood. Challenge number 3 was to read a book with red on the cover. This had red on the cover, this had red on the cover, and this had red on the cover. So did this. But the book that I read specifically for that challenge was Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. Challenge number 4 was to read a text that was translated from a language that you hadn't read anything translated from before. And while I originally picked this up and said that I'd be able to read this as a new to me language, this is translated from Swedish. I just remembered that I had already read a book that was translated from Swedish earlier in the month, and that was Pippi Longstocking by Astrid Lindgren, which I don't typically think of that story as translated fiction, but it is. So I didn't meet that challenge either. The bonus prompts were to read a book that was translated posthumously, and I had a book selected, but I didn't get around to that one. And then to read a book that was written by a Nobel laureate, and Herta Müller is a Nobel Prize winner for literature, and I read her book, The Fox Was Ever the Hunter. There were also bonus points to read books that were translated by female translators, and 4 of the 6 books that I read during the week had female translators. This one and this one did not, but everything else did. And so that's it. That is Women in Translation Readathon. I will continue to read books that were written by women in different languages. I will try to include more of those as the year goes by. So let me know in the comments if you also participated in the Readathon and what was your favorite book of the week. Thanks for watching. We'll talk in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, happy reading.